Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Of course I saw you there. It's a computer. But anyway, welcome to Science or Not. I am Oblivious Elsk, otherwise known as Oblivious, otherwise known as Alan Rask. This is a show where I talk about science that's either interesting to me, or just plain weird. I've been doing the show for about 15 weeks now, and I have 7 full episodes, this being the 8th, to show for it. And I'd like to thank all my viewers. For what? I don't know. For watching, of course. And to reward all of you, I shall continue making these videos into the indefinite future. However, I have not made videos in a little while because I am a college student, and that means I had papers and finals. But that's all over now because the term is finally over, so I can actually now get back to making videos. Of course, I periodically do some videos on my vlog channel, which I'll include a link to down there. So without further ado, let us begin. The first thing I want to talk about is a newly discovered fossil of a spider now called Nephila jurassica, or as I would like to call it, the big freaking dinosaur spider, because it is the biggest spider ever discovered. It was found in Inner Mongolia, China, and it is a member of a species of spider called the golden orb-weaver, and it's large enough to eat mice, bats, or even birds. And it's called the golden orb-weaver because its webs glisten with a gold tint in sunlight. That remind you of anything recent in theaters? The orb bit comes from the shape of its web. It looks like an orb, like a gold orb just kind of suspended there. But this is a big deal because of how freaking big the spider was. Its body was a good inch wide, so about that wide. And its legs were about 2.5 inches long. So, 1 inch, 2.5 inches on one side, 2.5 inches on the other side, equaling out to about 6 inches wide. That's a little big for 6 inches. Let me break out my ruler to get it a little more accurate. Shall we use the orange ruler, the 6-inch metal ruler, or the Pocahontas ruler? It's not mine. Let's use the Pocahontas ruler. So this thing was this wide and about this long. So in all, about this big. So we're talking huge freaking spider. This is a scientifically important discovery because spiders are the most numerous predators on land today. Basically, their sheer purpose is to keep insect numbers in check. So finding this huge ancient spider show that the functions of spiders that we see today were originally being used all the way back as the Jurassic. But this is nevertheless not the oldest spider ever found. This spider may be dated to 165 million years ago, but the earliest that we know of spiders' existence was 310 million years ago. And these dates were found from 2 different spider fossils that were found in costly England. No subject! Thanks, snake. Something else that I thought was cool to mention is that a place called Accovative Design is collaborating with Ford to make a fungus-based biodegradable foam for use in car bumpers, side doors, and even dashboards. So basically, we're making car parts out of mushrooms. The most important thing of all of this is that you'd actually be able to compost part of your car when you're done with it. The foam itself would be made out of a substance known as mycelium, otherwise known as the strong root system of mushrooms. It's basically a natural binding agent that can knit together agricultural byproducts. These byproducts including corn and oat husks. The technicians at Evocative Design take the husks and the mycelium and put them in trays of various shapes and sizes, and they put them in a darkened warehouse for 5 days. This lets the mushrooms develop and make all their foamy stuff. After that, you take the rooted mixture out of the warehouse and you cook and dry it. The result is a fireproof, waterproof, dense, light solid, and it decomposes 1 month after it's been buried in soil. The key use for all of this is a replacement for styrofoam. Wouldn't that be great? Getting rid of all the styrofoam that packs all the new electronics you buy and stuff. Not to mention that it's the most annoying thing to get rid of in landfills. But instead of throwing it in the dumpster with a guilty feeling that you're contaminating the planet, you can throw it in your dumpster and know that it'll be gone within a month. And the cool thing is that it costs just about as much as styrofoam. Mycelium foam basically has 2 big advantages. It's a decomposable packing product, and it doesn't take that much energy to produce. The only trouble is getting it uniform throughout. It's made by a living organism after all, and it's hard to get something living to do something perfectly the same repetitiously. Although the entire thing does kind of sound like it's coming out of a Mario game. Everything made out of mushrooms. No subject! Namely one about an Antarctic meteorite that was discovered in 1969. And no, it didn't have some sort of transformer in it. But it did have a mineral that scientists have never seen before. This mineral is termed wasonite, or wasonite, or something. I don't know how to pronounce it. It was named in honor of a former UCLA professor who was known for his work in the study of meteorites, his name being John T. Wasson, or Wason. Still don't know how you pronounce that. But the mineral within the meteorite is actually speculated to be about 4.5 billion years old. The scientists at NASA that were studying this thing used a transmission electron microscope to discover it, since it only forms in minuscule amounts. The piece they found in this case is about 50 to 450 nanometers big, which is less than 1/100th of the width of a single strand of human hair. That's tiny. Wassonite is actually a mineral formed from only 2 elements, sulfur and titanium, yet it possesses a crystal structure that has not been previously observed in nature. And in case you haven't taken an inorganic chemistry class, which you probably haven't, a mineral is a naturally occurring solid chemical substance that is formed through geological processes and that has a characteristic chemical composition, a highly ordered atomic structure, and specific physical properties. This, of course, coming from the Wikipedia page on minerals. But more on Wassonite. It's special because meteors with minerals in them are windows to the formation of the solar system. These are the words of a space scientist at NASA, who also said that through these kinds of studies we can learn about the conditions that existed out in space a long time ago, and the processes that were occurring then. New subject! But now let's go into something a little bit different. And this isn't tremendously recent news. I mean, it was discovered in 2007. In Newfoundland, an iceberg was noticed with bones dangling out the side of it. And no, they weren't human. The scientists who became interested in it had a whole bunch of questions on how this came to be. I mean, how do you get trapped in the middle of an iceberg with no passageways to you? The metaphorical situation is, how would you get in a box that has no openings without making a hole in the box? The answer? Grow the box around you. The best guess is that a polar bear dragged some food of, whatever the skeleton was, onto land, ate what it could, and then left the bones there. Eventually it froze over, a piece of ice broke off into water, started melting, and these guys with cameras caught some real cool pictures of it. Here's a better picture so you can see what I'm talking about. But this situation just makes me think about the chances of something like this happening. There's some skeleton that was trapped in ice, and it started falling out of the ice right above the water. Someone with a camera just happened to be there. I'm not saying it's fake, but I'm just wondering how often other random cool stuff like this happens in nature, but there's no one there to see it. But better question, people there to see it who are also paying enough attention to notice it. And speaking of random cool events that are rarely noticed, there's breaking news from the new royal wedding. This news being that Kate Middleton was turned into a jellybean, specifically a mango-flavored jellybean. Kate Middleton? Kate Middleton is a jellybean. Notice the uncanny resemblance. The people who found it said they just bought a jar of jelly beans, opened it, and there was Kate Middleton staring back at her. They took this jelly bean and sold it on eBay for £500, which is about $850. Really? There are people in this world who would buy a jelly bean that is that expensive? Perhaps a collector bought it. But that raises another question. Who the heck buys jelly beans to not eat them? Or even further, who the heck buys single jelly beans? So I suppose the moral of this story is always look at your jelly beans before eating them. You might just bite down on a Charlie Sheen jelly bean. So I know that last jelly bean story wasn't exactly science, but I thought I'd mention it because it was funny and cool anyway. But that is not all the cool science stuff I got for you, because I've been collecting it over the last few weeks during finals. But I want to kind of break it up into separate episodes. Also, about the next episode, I will not have this backdrop with me because I will be in Eugene, Oregon. I'll have to find some other clever backdrop. But nevertheless, I'm out of school, which means I will probably be able to make more episodes, which means more science. So either if you liked any of the stuff that I talked about today, or wanted to say anything on it, or if you have any other interesting science that you'd like me to mention, leave a comment in the drop-down bar below, or send me a video response. Also, like it if you like it, because if you like it, you make me all warm and fuzzy inside. And subscribe if you really liked it, which makes me feel even more warm and fuzzy inside. So until next time, which might be in a few days, see ya around.